Streaming live via the internet. Welcome to ISP Radio, your weekly source for ISP-related news, events, and interviews with industry experts. If you deliver internet via fiber optic, wireless, coax, or any other way, you're in the right place. Chat live with us weekly via ispradio.com every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Central Time. And now a brief word from our sponsors. Link Technologies, providing ISP consulting, support, and hardware for wireless ISPs. TowerCoverage.com, providing online RF coverage maps. And now your host for ISP Radio, Steve Grabiel and Dennis Burgess.
Welcome to another edition of ISP Radio. I'm your host, Steve Grabiel, broadcasting from Moriarty, New Mexico, in the middle of nowhere out here, and got Dennis producing the show and also co-hosting the show. So what's been going on? I hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving. I did. Had quite a kerfluffle of problems. We had some clock up on the tower site where I have my internet tower up on the top of the Sandia Mountains. They clocked 94-mile-an-hour gusts, and that was blowing down in my neck of the woods too. And what happened is it blew over a small relay site on a roof. We fixed that, but then another relay site, a major hub for my network, a power pole snapped and it fell over. And so I've been going through with the power company over the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, found an electrical contractor, and we went up there and jackhammered out on this rocky hill and erected a new power pole and mounted all the old switch gear on that pole. And it's sitting there waiting for the power company to come out there and energize, but they're not one to be cooperative, let's say, because the inspector can't inspect the installation because he's not going to be back till tomorrow, and who knows what kind of backlog he has. So I've been begging and pleading every day. I've been driving up to the site at 5 o'clock in the morning to fill up my generator, and then at 5 o'clock in the evening I go up there to fill up the generator as well. So that's kind of been painful. And then all along with that, we had some nice moisture come through, but with the moisture came a bunch of lightning, and it hit another major site, which happens to be downstream of the site that I'm dealing with the power problems. And it blew up a Netonics, and it blew up a B5 I got. So I've got those things coming in. I think I ordered the B5 from Dennis, so that should be en route, and I can get that fixed. But thank goodness to redundancy in my network, no one was down. So I've been going through quite a bit of issues there on the fiber front. Added 3 more customers to the fiber project I'm doing. Keep laying fiber to the people's doors and lighting them up. It's really good. This is like shooting fish in a barrel, installing people that'll never quit me or leave me over poor service. So I'm excited about that. Other than that, what's going on in your neck of the woods, Dennis?
Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, we've been definitely busy here at LinkTex. Obviously, you're buying hardware. We have tons of hardware going out. It seems as fast as we get it in, we're shipping it out in some cases, because sometimes the manufacturers are not supplying it quick enough. There's back orders, things like that. And keep this in mind. I mean, we're getting into December now, so most of you probably don't know this. In the manufacturing world, we have a couple issues. One of those, especially coming up in January, February, is the Chinese New Year, in which basically everything shuts down over there for like 2 weeks. So we have to make sure that we have enough inventory prior to that, so that hopefully we won't run out. And then, of course, everybody wants inventory immediately, even though there's nobody shipping anything for a few weeks. So we always have those fun issues as well. But overall, busy. Lots of fun projects, a number of complete network cutovers where we're completely removing or re-engineering or have to figure out engineering on networks. I'm really surprised at the number of people out there that these people, they're very nice people and such, but they have relinquished control of their network to somebody else. They have not put into any time and effort into trying to understand how IP addressing works or anything like that. So we have to do a little education, but that's okay. Education for us and helping our customers is what we do, and we want to be able to do that very effectively and quickly. So we have a lot of those types of projects. We have a number of other projects where we're just simply helping customers, as we always do. But always, these are fun projects for us. We keep busy on those as well. Other than that, we definitely have been rolling out new features for tower coverage. We're continuously improving that system as always, so that's always a really good thing for us and our customers. And we always invite everybody to give us those feedback or that feedback to get as much information as we can so that we can always develop new and exciting products and new services for customers as well. So definitely keeping busy as always. Cyber Mondays, you never know on those. In the past, we've had, a flood of not invoices, but online orders. I don't know even the stats on it this year, but I know they were scrambling around in the sales room, so that's probably a good thing.
Well, I took you guys up on your generous offers on a few products that I normally keep inventory. It was a great deal, so I ordered up some.
Gotcha. We definitely did we did a couple deals on a couple things that we normally don't put on sale too terribly often. I know we had some Power Router V4s on sale, and then we also sell a product called Hotspot Network Manager that is, in my mind anyway, probably one of the best hotspot management systems you could have if you do a lot of hotspotting. And it is extremely scalable, and we actually put that on sale as well, which is again something that we normally don't have to sell at a cut price because we normally sell it quite extensively throughout the year. But overall, we have to pass pass a little savings on to everybody and get everybody going on those products. So it's always a really good thing. And I see you've been busy, Steve, and trying to fill up our calendar. For those of you that don't know, of course, you can go to ispradio.com, and as we basically confirm people onto the ispradio.com show, it is put right onto our website, so you can see that as well. So really, really good stuff there as well.
Well, anything on the news front, I do have to say, since our last show, we've gone through an election, and I hope that the election went the way that everyone wanted. It sounds like hopefully we'll get some regulation changes, hopefully in our benefit. Any news on that kind of front, Dennis?
Well, I'm not going to get into the political discussion inside this, what I'm saying, but definitely been an interesting election. I know a lot of people that have not voted in the past were voting this year, so that may have adjusted things, but overall, it should be an interesting next few years. At least I'm hoping for anyway. But we'll keep going from there. How's that? It didn't really change a lot in our industry. There definitely could be some changes with the FCC. We don't know. I mean, this it's all speculation at this point, so I would hate to speculate and to say anything really on that. Other items of note as far as the WISP industry is that the WISP America registration is now open. I don't know if you've seen that or not. I actually even had to find my email on it. I believe it opened up yesterday. Let me find it because I want to make sure I give everybody the proper information. Yeah, here it is. Registration for WISP America 2017. That's going to be March 14th through the 16th in Memphis. So make sure you guys come on down. You got Beale Street there. It's downtown. It's real close to Beale Street, so should be a really, really good night. It's a really nice hotel, nice Sheraton downtown right there. A good room rate for being downtown and that close to Beale Street. So make sure you check that out. Go to wispa.org if you are not a member or if you wish to attend the show. Again, should be a great time in March as well. So good stuff with that coming up. So that is probably the biggest news that I got for everybody. Everything else was really at Wispapalooza. There's really not much else out there going on. And with the election and the politics changing, pretty much everything's kind of stopped for the most part. WISPA is still participating in the working groups and things like that they have always done or that we continue to do, and those things are still going, like WinForm, etc. But there's really not a major push because, again, the politics and the political change is going to come, and pretty much everybody's going to sit on their hands until that happens for the most part.
Yeah, sit and wait.
Yep, sit and wait. the typical stuff that happens.
Yep.
So.
Well, on today's show, we have One VoIP, and we have the head of business sales, Evan Burroughs, and he's going to talk to us about a breakout session that I went to at Wispalooza about their product, PBX Real-Time. Evan, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Thank you guys for having me on the show. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, you bet.
Yeah, no, it was great. It was a great time being able to meet everyone there and really being able to kind of show off our product. It's something we've really been developing for a couple of years now and have really put a lot of time and effort into. We have engineers with experience dating back to the 80s that actually worked on PBX real time and developed it. And really, it's just a result of collaboration, right? So we collaborated between multiple VoIP providers, hardware manufacturers, things like that, to really produce what we feel like is a very good, solid PBX system. Even has some features in it that you really don't find in a lot of PBXs out there, and we'll talk about some of that as we go along. But yeah, no, it was definitely a great time, and really appreciate you guys having me on the show.
You bet. So tell us a little bit about One VoIP. That's where you guys came from. Are you from the beginning of the business? Have you seen it grow? Just tell us a little bit of background, a little bit about yourself too. Your background as well.
Yeah, for sure. So I mean, as far as the company itself, started in 2005 and started as a VoIP company. Has stayed that way. And as far as my position with the company, I've been here since 2007, so almost the entire stay of the company. But it's been something I've been able to really see things grow and see us develop and offer more products, including PBX Real Time. That is something that has been really, really cool to see, just getting to see over time. As far as some of my background, really kind of jumped into the tech industry upon entering One VoIP. I entered just as a customer service representative and also did tech work and just wound up moving into different fields over time. I've done web development for the company for a while and also did some development for, like I said, PBX Real Time, one of the engineers on that project. So yeah, that's just kind of a little bit about me and about the company. The owners have been in telecom for decades, honestly have been in telecom for decades. And started this venture together, and they're still the owners of the company. So it's been really cool. It's been a really neat environment to be able to be connected with them.
Where are you guys located?
Yeah, we're located just north of Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, a town called Edmond, and we've been in Oklahoma and in Oklahoma City area since the inception of the company.
Gotcha. So go into the services and products you guys support ISPs with.
Yeah, for sure. As far as One VoIP itself, One VoIP offers some reseller co-branding solutions for WISP. We do have WISP that are using us in that capacity even now. As far as specifics, we actually offer residential VoIP service, a hosted cloud-based business phone service, as well as SIP trunking. If someone has their own PBX they want to use, we offer SIP trunking via One VoIP. On the hardware or the software side, as far as the PBX itself, PBX Real Time is what we offer. It's a full-fledged carrier VoIP switch. So if you have, for instance, for your company or for any other WISP out there, the carrier side of the switch is very robust. It's a true multi-tenant system, which any of you who have probably used, which I'm sure a lot of your listeners have used free PBX or some kind of version of free PBX because it was free, right? And so did we. That's when we first got into this, we started with that because, for one, it was just a nice entry level. But we found some shortcomings with it, especially whenever you have multiple tenants, multiple companies who all have their own particular needs, particular features, that free PBX just wasn't enough. And so we actually developed a lot of things, including the multi-tenancy, to where everyone is truly partitioned. So that you actually have customers that are not bleeding over their features and extensions with one another.
So what's a application of multi-tenancy? Go a little bit more in depth on that.
Yeah, for sure. So let me kind of give some examples. So with some traditional phone systems, they're really meant for a single install. And free PBX really, I think that was what its core function and core purpose was for. For carriers, though, becomes a little bit more difficult. So if you have multiple customers, for instance, you could only have one extension 100 because if you have everyone on the same phone system, well, you can't have company A have extension 100 and then company B have extension 100 because it just doesn't work. Whenever 100 is called, it's only going to ring one of those companies. So with what we did with the multi-tenancy and partitioning, we've actually truly separated everything out. It's at a pretty deep level within the code and how we're doing that. But whenever we do that, everyone can have whatever extension number they want because they are truly partitioned from one another. That way, extensions stay where they should. Features stay where they should. You're able to really manage each company as their own entity. And with that, we also have an admin portal that companies can log into. So say you are a carrier, you have 5 companies, you can give all those companies their own logins where they manage only their phone system. That way they do a lot of the work for you. They're taking care of their stuff, which a lot of those companies like too. They like to be able to manage their own features. They like to be able to take care of everything. They don't want to have to call someone just to change some kind of feature on one of their extensions.
Right. Taking care of their own ads, moves, changes, and the like.
Yeah. Exactly. So, I mean, as far as the multi-tenant portion, there's so much more on that aspect, but that's really the biggest thing. And with that, there's mode of scalability that we include with our product, where if you have resellers even, they can have their own login to manage their own customers. And it's just a really beautiful system and how it builds out and scales that you just really, like I said, can't find in a lot of PBXs, especially if you're looking just to break into the market. You don't want to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on a phone system whenever you're just starting into the phone side of it. And that's where we offer, a couple different versions. We do have an on-site version that can be just a single install. It goes at the location, so particularly helpful for some WISP, where if you're in kind of a challenging area where you maybe have some latency or some packet issues, an on-site can really take care of a lot of that stuff just because you're not traversing the network the entire time. But if you wanted to be a carrier and have your own version, which where everyone connects back to you, you're offering a truly hosted environment at that point. We offer that as well. And so, of course, there are price differences and things like that, but that's something that we really try to give a couple different options. That way, really just suits the needs of your customers.
Right. So you mentioned hosting. Who hosts the product that you guys offer? And, if I host it at my site, what kind of gear do I have to buy to make this work?
Yeah, so whenever we host it, so if you ever are doing like a reseller or co-brand with 1 VoIP, we actually host it at a couple of different locations. We have a couple different geographically located spots near Dallas, different sides of Dallas, but it's built on the fiber backbone. So, excuse me, coming out with a cold. But as far as those locations are concerned, we load balance between them. We actually do a lot of load balancing, and that's one of the cool things with PBX Real Time. It can do load balancing. It has even built-in backup capabilities where it'll actually directly mirror. As soon as you make a change, it's going to mirror it onto the second server. So that's kind of what our hosting environment looks like. As far as if you were to do it, there are really multiple configurations. So at the show, we actually set out to try to put our phone system on the cloud key, on the Ubiquity cloud key. I'm sure most of your listeners probably heard about it. If not, though, it's size of a candy bar. It sounds, as far as the specs are concerned, it sounds like it doesn't pack a lot of punch, but compared to a lot of your older phone systems, it really packs a lot of punch for what it can do. So even on the cloud key, if you have the version 2, which some people may not know there is a version 2, it's because Ubiquity didn't really sell it that way. But anything manufactured after March 2016 is a version 2. It carries a little bit more RAM, a little bit better specs overall, and that's what we ran our tests on. So with that, with that, you can actually run 12 setups and teardowns a minute. So what that means is you can set up 12 different calls, tear them down all within 1 minute, which for most business applications is more than enough for an on-site install. You can carry 20 concurrent calls at a time, and 100 extensions. Now, those numbers can be increased. We did try pushing it past that, and we did have some success with that. But those numbers that I just gave you are what we really feel comfortable rating it at, and that's with the cloud key. And so with other servers, perhaps like a 1U Dell R610, which are very common, very popular, and we did a lot of testing with that. That's a lot of what we try to. We're actually producing some boxes that'll kind of be similar in the specs to an R610, and those will be available Q1 that you'll be able to purchase right from our website. But those handle about 240 calls a minute as far as tearing up, setting up, tearing down, or reverse those. But it can also carry 600 concurrent calls. So it's very impressive what it can do just on a 1U server. Now, we personally, and probably all of both of you guys and all of your listeners probably feel the same way. We really try to do overkill for our own service. We run an R900, which is a 4U server. It carries way more than what we would ever need, but we like to always overkill. We pretty much double whatever we need just to make sure that we're always safe. But as far as what it can handle, I mean, those numbers that I just gave you are what we've actually tested with. We have a piece of software that we've been using that's a very strenuous testing to make sure that we're rating these appropriately.
Right. At that breakout session you guys handed out some cloud keys to everyone that showed up, and thank you. That was neat. But so the cloud key idea is I would go to a company and say, hey, do you want cheap VoIP? And then I would install this cloud key at their site, and then that would be like their on-site PBX. Is that it?
Yeah, pretty much. As a business sales guy, I would probably say cost effective, but yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah, no.
No, you're fine. But as
most economical.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Do you guys have a virtualized product?
You can install PBX real time on a virtual machine. We do have and haven't shown any kind of issues with that at all.
The only reason why I specifically asked the virtualization question is because we actually do a lot with our Power Router V4s that actually run ESXi already. And we get a lot of customers that are looking to basically get one big, very redundant piece of hardware, which is our V4, dual power supplies, dual hard drives. Everything is enterprise class. I mean, the electrical specifications on it's like 112,000 hours MTBF. So the example, though, is that they would sit there and they would load, here's our router on it, here's our DNS server, here's a small VoIP server, here's several things that most ISPs should have, and they're using it as, hey, we have 6 network legs, or we have 6 networks that are kind of individual, but we need to have a similar service on each one.
Yeah. So. Yeah, no, I definitely see what you're saying. And that's kind of what we, in a very, very small way, tried to do with the cloud key, right? We made PBX real time, a specific instance of it for the Ubiquiti cloud keys to run alongside of like the unified VoIP controller. And we also put the unified controller on there as well, because we just wanted to see what it could do and if it were possible to even run it on something that small. And in that, we really found that while it can do those things and can run with multiple different services, it runs best if it's just on its own. So I would imagine again, all of it depends more so on the hardware and what it actually has as far as stats for the server. But that's something that we would just want to test out.
There you go.
So you got, it sounds like two solutions. One is hosted by you guys, and then one can be hosted by the individual ISP. Mm-hmm. And you just buy a hot rod server. You guys place the software on it, and then you're off and running.
Yeah.
What are the services? Say I buy my own box and we set this up, and I start going out and selling to people. What are the idiosyncrasies of doing this? I mean, what's the cost to one VoIP for the services you provide on that box and such?
Yeah, so as far as some of the pricing, it really just depends on what what your specific needs are and what your specific environment is. We do have different pricing. That's something that we just really encourage people. Just give us a call. We really want to. We really like talking with people and working out specifically what you need. It's kind of hard to just say, hey, here's the specific price. Now, I mean, we can give prices on the on-site stuff because that's very it's very static as far as what it is. For an on-site install, like a cloud key, we will ship the cloud key with it installed. You're looking at $295. If you want the one use server, that's just for, again, just a single install for one location. You're looking at $595. And so if you have a really large business that needs that much, $595 and you're done. That's one time, and that's pricing for the on-site. The carriers are that's where it gets a little bit difficult because it's not just static. It really depends on what your needs are.
Right. So, like for myself, if I want to get into the voice world, it would be, in essence, I would be turning into a carrier, correct?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if you're wanting to offer it to your customers, you would turn into a carrier at that point. But with our PBX, even though One VoIP itself offers SIP trunking, things like that, with our PBX, we really try to make it open to for our customers to use whomever that they want. Of course, we would love for you to use our services at One VoIP. We think, as far as our SIP trunking, we're one of the best out there, one of the best offerings as far as pricing and things like that. But as far as the PBX itself, it can work with T1s, it can work with any SIP provider, it can work. We've broadened the scale of what it can connect to and how it can function, so that you can really use whichever carrier that you would like.
So you mentioned that you guys offer the SIP trunking and such. What's that all involved? You know, if I wanted to go with one cloud, what would that all entail?
Yeah, so to get a SIP trunk through us, I mean, really, we even have a trial if you're wanting to just test it out, see what it's like, see what our service is like. That's something directly on our website on voip.com. As far as the SIP trunk itself, we actually don't charge per channel. We give you unlimited channels. That's not common in the industry. A lot of SIP trunk providers actually charge you per channel. So if you want two simultaneous calls, you're paying for two channels, which is, in our mind, kind of absurd. We understand why they do it, and they claim all the unlimited minutes on one channel. But for us, we think a more fair pricing is just, hey, per minute. That's really what your larger carriers do anyways, is per minute. And so as far as SIP trunk, we give you unlimited channels, and it's more of just a per minute basis.
Okay. Dennis, you got anything? Is there any people on the chat?
I just checked a minute ago, but I'll check again. I'll make sure I ask, but nothing as of yet. So
yeah. Well, let me just go over a couple other things as far as cost of entry, things like that. A lot of times, what we heard at the show at Wispapalooza the last couple of years that we've been is, hey, we'd really like to get into the space, but it's just so expensive to get in. It's so expensive to get my own phone system. Some people were not interested in being resellers. They really wanted to have it themselves and own the hardware, right? Which is very reasonable. We understand that. And that's, I mean, as far as some of our pricing for people who want to be carriers, we really try to create a low cost of entry that scales as you scale. That's why I said it really depends on what your environment is, what you're needing. And as far as what we really are aiming to do is really just trying to get our name out there, get our PBX out there into people's hands. And it's just something that, again, as we met people at Wispapalooza, they really liked what we had. We even have a feature called automatic device discovery, which you actually got to see at the breakout, where it configures. We tested just 25 Unify phones. It configured all 25 within about a couple of minutes. And people were able to make calls. People were making live calls during the presentation, which was really cool. But it's just one of the impressive features that we have.
Right. And so with, say I want to get involved in this, and I have a customer that wants to try the cloud key for, an individual business, 5 telephones and such. What's all involved with doing that, and you guys hosting it and that kind of thing?
Well, I mean, if they're wanting to do it on the cloud key, then as far as us being a host, we don't have to host. Now we can provide the SIP trunk, but the cloud key itself can be purchased right from our website. And whenever they purchase that, we actually set up PBX Real-Time, the software itself, on the cloud key, so that they have it fresh out of the box. It's ready to go. At that point, when they get it, or if you're installing it for them, all you do is put in some of the setup details that we talked about at that breakout session. And we actually have online tutorials and videos on how to do all that. We don't leave people in the dark. We have documents on how to set everything up. It's actually not complicated at all. I think a lot of people, if they've never done it before, get a little bit concerned about, man, a phone system, I don't even understand like what all that involves. I don't understand the technical aspects of it. But really, I'm sure most, if not all, of your listeners would be able to understand, oh, hey, this isn't complicated at all. It's actually pretty simple to set up, especially with how we've set everything up on our end. You can set them up within just a few minutes. They're very nice and easy to get off the ground, and then you just set up the extensions. Set the extensions. If they have phones, we support multiple models of phones that our wizard will actually configure for you. And at that point, configure them and they're ready to go. We tested some installs, especially whenever we were testing setting up some of the phones, like the Unify phones. We even tested with some Grandstream phones as well, which are very popular. Cisco is another one that we test a lot with. And so we could set up a full system within about 15 to 20 minutes. And I realize that's me setting it up. I've been in it, use it a lot. I get that. But really, for someone that's just stepping into it, you're looking probably at about 30 minutes from start to finish on having everything set up.
Well, that's dirt cheap in time, because I've set up a couple of voice systems where I had to go into each phone individually, and what I saw at the breakout session, all the phones were configured in that 10 to 15 minutes. I mean, you guys know how to do it, but I mean,
yeah,
15 minutes. I was spending 15 minutes configuring one phone.
Yeah, exactly, and that was really a lot of the drive behind that tool. Was really, hey, let's save time, because even for as a company, we do them all day, every day, right? And so setting up phones, we understand how to do them, how to do them quickly, manually, but still that just takes so much time. And so now we connect them into a network adapter, and they're configured. We've configured 20, at a time, different times, just depending on what the install calls for. And it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal because they're ready to go. We box them up, send them out, and we've spent about 30 minutes on 20 instead of 20 minutes on one.
Right. So tell us a little bit about bells and whistles that maybe the other competitors don't have.
Yeah, a lot of ours are more on the back end. So we do a lot with load balancing and a lot with mirroring, that you can put in X amount of servers to mirror and load balance between. So if you wanted to load balance between just 2 servers, that's fine. If you want to do it between 8, that's fine as well. It's actually very invaluable for people who are especially running a lot of customers and really want to make sure that they offer good quality calls while also ensuring a lot of backups. If you've ever ran a phone system, that's kind of always the big concern is, hey, if this goes down, I'm going to lose all the feature setup. I'm going to lose all the voicemails, and it's a nightmare. Whereas with our system, again, you can mirror that to multiple servers. One of the other features, like we talked about, the automatic device discovery, really just can't say enough about it, because it not only finds the phones on the network, it will also set up the extensions for them and configure the phones themselves so that they're ready to go as soon as they boot back up. That's another one of our really unique features that we've seen other PBXs, some others, not a lot, but we've seen some other PBXs try to claim that, but they're more so provider specific or manufacturer specific on what they'll do. Ours actually will configure multiple different brands all in one session of the automatic device discovery. So you could have a Cisco, a Yalink, a Ubiquiti, a Grandstream, and it will actually configure all of them at the same time. It doesn't skip a beat. So that's one of the unique aspects of our device discovery. Some of the other things, such as the multi-tenant, there's not a lot out there that actually do true multi-tenancy. Some will claim it, and that's what kind of my warning to a lot of your listeners would be is, hey, if a PBX is saying that they do multi-tenant, be careful with that. They mean different things by that. Not all of them are true multi-tenant in that they actually partition everything out. With our multi-tenant setup, it's actually a true partitioning. Everything is truly separated. And so it's more so on the back end that we've really focused a lot of our time and development because of deficiencies that we saw in both systems that we try to use as a provider from one VoIP side of it. And so that's why we really kind of built a PBX real time the way that we did, was to kind of handle a lot of the different things that we saw when we were going through it as carriers. And so it's things that we've kind of charted that land for a lot of WISP and other companies that want to be carriers. That way you don't have to traverse those lanes yourself.
One of the features I just think of is like soft phone. Is that something that One VoIP does? And these cell phone apps and everything like that, if I connect my cell phone to my local area network, can I use the One VoIP instead of using my carrier?
Yeah, for sure. We actually partnered in a sense with a company called Zoiper. We worked extensively with them. Let me put it that way. Worked extensively with Zoiper. We're actually one of the providers on their app that you can choose right from the get, and just put in a couple of details and you're off the ground. It's a free app. That's one of the things that drew us to them. Besides their quality is one of the best, and I can tell you, I personally tested a lot of soft phone applications out there back whenever they were first coming out, and have tested a lot since. And Zoiper's quality is one of the best, and they have applications for iOS, Android, as well as Mac and PC, where you can install it, have your extension set up, and like you said, be able to make and receive calls all through the app on your cell phones, on your laptops, and so on.
Huh, neat. So I'm going to make you stretch here.
Okay.
Give us a story of a successful install that is a shining example of what One VoIP does. You don't have to name names or anything, but just step us through how it went.
Yeah. So as far as an install of just the services itself, or PBX real time in particular.
Well, just imagine you're trying to sell me your product and I buy into it. What was some of the pros and some of the good things that happened during the install, and what were some of the difficulties you went through?
Yeah, for sure. So one I'm thinking right off the top of my head, it was a WISP, and they're still a great customer of ours. We really love having them on. But they really took us on early on in the development of the PBX itself. So it was really after we had only developed it probably about a year or so. So after about a year, they came on and really wanted to try it out. They liked what they saw. They really liked the multi-tenancy, and so they began with it. Now, this was someone who didn't have any prior knowledge of PBXs, had absolutely no experience with PBXs, but they really wanted to get into that industry and make that an offering for their customers. So what we did was we really helped them get off the ground and running. They had a ton of questions, which was fine. We really loved having them and having them use our PBX and really give us some feedback from their side. And so we worked with them for a little bit of time to try to get everything up and going. Anytime that they had questions about, hey, how do I set this up? How do we go about this? There would be a lot of manuals that we could definitely refer them to, but sometimes it was just, hey, I need to know how to do this right now. Can you help me out? And so we would just take the call and we say, hey, this is what you do for like setting up an extension, setting up a ring group, a call queue, things like that, that we would help step them through. And a lot of it, and a lot of what One VoIP was built on, as well as what we're doing with PBX Real Time, is really top-notch support and service. And that's really, that was one of the success stories I'd really want to try to relay is that one right there. A guy who knew absolutely nothing about PBXs went from no knowledge to now he's managing everything. We rarely ever get any kind of questions because he's just managing it. And even when we push out new updates and new features, I mean, he's just hit the ground running. So they have quite a few customers in their local area now that use the phone system. So that would be probably one of the ones there. As far as cons, any kind of hurdles, for us it was also, hey, we're developing this. We're trying to make sure that we're meeting the needs of a broad range of users, not just what we specifically needed, but also a broad range of users. And so there would be times that they would even ask and say, hey, we don't see X feature. And so we would actually implement something and actually put that into the code, because we said, hey, that's actually a great request. Let us develop it for you. Give us a little bit to develop it. Make sure it'll work on a broad scale, and then we'll push the update. And so that's a lot of as far as cons. That's probably the biggest con is just hey, it takes time to develop a good, well working phone system, and
Right.
And that's something that they took that journey with us, and now we have a really good product that we put out there.
One of my I got two more questions.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is basically fear or just fear of the unknown. What does it take for, like me, if I want to start doing this and selling the product? What does it take for me to, as in billing and all that stuff with the FCC and the government and all that nonsense? I mean, that adds a burden to any ISP, and I'm sure it's a question that a lot of people that have no knowledge of what being a carrier, if you will, what's that all entail?
Yeah, for sure. No, that's a fantastic question, and we actually got that quite a bit at WISPApalooza, and since then in some follow-up conversations. Really, as far as the legal aspect with the taxes and with billing, that would be something I would definitely recommend. Hey, get with a good telecom lawyer. There are some out there. In fact, we actually have someone we could recommend to you. His name is Greg Taylor. He's been doing this for decades. He's a fantastic contact to help you, get off the ground and all that kind of stuff. Because like you said, it can kind of be a beast if you've never gone into that area before. But that's what we try to also make an option for WISP or anyone who wants to be a carrier to be a reseller or a co-brand, so that we can actually handle a lot of that for you, to where you wouldn't have to worry about that. If you ever wanted to be your own carrier down the road and say, hey, we don't want to do a co-brand, we actually want to host the service ourselves, we'd be more than welcome to help you with that and get you into that. But we also offer the other option too.
Gotcha. And my last question is, I'm on a Trix box and pretty prone to hacking. And I mean, my carrier, my provider, has been hacked before, and he's run up large bills with his SIP provider. And I've heard stories of some other products. He tells me stories of another PBX on site that got hacked, and they ran up a $50,000 phone bill, and his carrier was not willing to forgive that. So he had a gigantic problem with the customer, because of course they didn't want to pay the bill either, but they were in charge of their own PBX. How robust is this from like a Trix box, if you will?
Yeah, so as far as PBX real time, it was built to be able to run HTTPS. So, I mean, which is kind of the standard anymore nowadays. But you'd be surprised how many phone systems are not set up for HTTPS. That's a first level of defense. So that's one of the things that we've done on that side of it. With some of the qualifications and the authentications of extensions, we've made that a little bit more complicated and difficult. It's not just a simple 4-digit number that someone has to put in and just guess a password. It's a little bit more complex than that, so that it can be more secure for sure. Now it's all very readily apparent and available, so that whoever is inside of the box, they can get that information. So if you're logged in, you'll be able to still access information. It isn't that complex, but it is complex enough that someone from the outside won't be able to just tap in and get all those details and that kind of thing. As far as from a carrier side, One VoIP itself does have some things built in to try to negate a lot of those types of issues. because as a SIP trunk provider, we've had our fair share of those types of circumstances where someone has had a particular issue with some kind of fraud, and we've built some things on our side to protect not just ourselves but also the customer themselves, because that can be a very real and a very big issue. That we just really try to circumvent that with multiple different steps of security.
Right. So let me just put this in example to my carrier, what he went through. So say I buy SIP trunks from you and a PBX gets hacked and they start doing these, high dollar many phone call things, and it runs up a bill. You as the SIP provider pay someone, and then you thus pass the cost on to me if that thing gets hacked. Like my provider was telling me, his provider couldn't forgive it, so he had to go back to the client, and of course they don't want to pay for it because they didn't feel they were the bad guys. Is that how that kind of works, being a SIP provider?
In a sense, every situation is unique. And having been here for a while, I've seen my fair share of those types of things happen. And so each situation is unique, and all I can speak from is from one VoIP side of that equation, and that's we really try to work with our customers because here's the bottom line is if something happens to where that company goes out, it's not good for us either. If something happens to where that company is no longer even able to be a customer, it's just not good. It's not good for business. And so we really try to work with all of our customers. And I can honestly say that, having been here for the 9 years, it's something where we really do value our customers. That's been something that's always been a top priority of ours. And so that's kind of how we handle it. So every situation is going to be different. In any way that we can help figure out and prevent those issues, that's really what we aim for ultimately. So I know it's kind of not an answer, but it really does depend on each situation.
Right, and things keep going through my mind. So say I get a customer and we do a cloud key and you guys host it, porting numbers, that's another thing. I mean, everyone wants to keep their same number.
Yeah, so we actually have a port tool that we can definitely check any numbers that need to be ported. In almost every situation, we are able to port numbers. The only time that it can kind of be sticky is there are some very, and I'm talking about, and I know you guys deal with rural areas, but I'm talking very rural, like most of the time I'm thinking like Canada, some that are way out there that are really in a very locked down area where the local POTS provider has control of those numbers. That's where it can be a little bit more difficult, but still those situations are very rare. We can port numbers in almost any state and in most areas in Canada as well. So we really have a large footprint that we have available to us.
Right. Well, Dennis, any questions from you?
I think we're really good. I mean, he's given us a really good description of what these guys do, and they have. I think it's the best thing to give them a call and tell them what you want to do, and then they'll get with you and get everything going. At least give you pricing and getting going from there. I mean, we do support for plenty of VoIP solutions, things like that. Everything from there's a whole bunch of vendors out there that do it. It really comes down to what your customer wants, and I will tell you right now, though, being able to the ideal of using the little ubiquity thing, that's neat. I don't really care for it too much, and the reason for that is I'd much rather have a set of redundant systems back at my NOC that I can resell 100 times over than to have to support that one little piece of hardware. And the reason for that is I don't want to have that piece of hardware that fails, etc., have problems. I'm not sitting there saying that they do fail. I'm just saying I would rather have the redundancy for that. Design a simple system that has the redundancy and as well as clustering. The scalability is also very important whenever you as a WISP are trying to provide services. But providing business services, business VoIP services to those businesses and being able to go out there and give them giving them a price per port or per minute or per phone is a excellent way to do your value add. But I always sit there and tell every WISP that asks me this, should I do VoIP or should I not? The first question I always ask is, are you doing what you do now the best you possibly can be? In other words, are you providing the best, highest quality internet that you possibly could be providing? And do you have time to start up that other division? You always have to think about this is another business aspect. You need to have your people trained. You need to have your people understanding how to sell it. You have to have your people to help support it. And if your network is not up to the task of taking that data and overlaying it and ensuring quality of service, etc., then all you're going to do is create more problems for yourself by starting something like that. However, there's a lot of people out there that can do that.
Yeah, and that's a great point. And to a lot of that, there are actually things in different codecs that can be used to even drop a lot of that bandwidth down to where it's really such a minimal bandwidth usage. I mean, very minimal. Less in some situations you can even be less than 10K because of the compression that can happen on that. So it really helps defeat the issue of bandwidth. But I think to your point with supporting and managing and billing and all that, that's a great point. And one of the reasons why we both offer and have had a lot of people take us up on our co-branding solution, because we support, we bill, we do all of that, and then the WISP can just literally take some of the profit from that without having to do any support or billing. So it's a great point. It's a great point for you to bring up.
Yeah, I mean,
that's sage advice, Dennis. Very sage. And with their solution, the co-hosted solution or co-branded, sounds like they help you ease into this world, if you might. I'm sorry for interrupting you, Dennis.
No, it's okay. I mean, I see it all the time where you have a business that they're not busy enough in their core business, so then they start branching off into 8 other businesses, and they don't do any of them very good. They just do a little bit, and they're so worried about doing the other divisions all at the same time and supporting these customers and doing all that, they really lose focus on what really makes them the most money. And the residential VoIP, to be honest with you, I don't care about. I don't think most residential VoIP is a major factor, unless you can get several hundred of them very quickly. Business VoIP.
Yeah, it depends.
Right. In business VoIP, though, whole other ballgame, because your margins are typically extremely, or can be extremely high compared to their residential. I have customers in our area that they pay $35 a month per desk phone. Okay. Now, what do they get for that? Well, one, they don't buy any hardware. If the phone breaks, we get them a new one. Okay. But that's besides the fact. You can get a nice Grandstream phone for $100 or so and roll it out and run with it. Okay. You're paying for all their minutes. You're doing everything they want. It's simple as that. So if you're getting $35 a phone and they got 10 phones, start doing your math here. Okay. Yeah. All of a sudden, after you've paid that initial hardware investment, other than having spare hardware, now you're actually making money. So keep in mind, selling VoIP is not just the VoIP service. It also can be the hardware. So, if you do deploy it on that little Ubiquiti key thing, hey, there you go. There's your hardware that you want to support. If you wanted to deploy some type of appliance inside their building that has a hot spare sitting there, maybe the Ubiquiti keys can do that. I don't know, but
they can, and that was one of the things that I meant to address earlier, is that the Ubiquiti keys can do that as well, where they can load balance. You can definitely mirror to different ones, so that you do kind of circumvent some of the concerns that you had rightfully expressed on that.
Right. So, and that's fine. I mean, but that's the ideal, is that the hardware has came down in cost significantly. The phones have, etc.
Yeah.
The cost of the actual trunking and the per minute cost, that's nickels and dimes. That is not where your actual cost for most VoIP deployments are. The actual cost is either, if you're doing centralized, the actual hardware there, and then your support time. The time to sell it because it's not just hey, we're going to install a phone system. 99% of these people, they have lists and they want this. And then, have you ever seen some of these guys? I had a customer. I mean, these guys have 14 employees, and they had a phone tree that if they printed it out, it was like 6 pages long. We want if they do this, press this button. It just takes time to do all of that. And it's not hard, it's not complicated, it's just time. But that's what these guys want. They want you to support all that. And if you do not include that, and I know some other people, they go, hey, any changes to your phone system, we charge you per hour.
Yeah.
But a lot of people don't want that. They want that fixed rate, So that's where you will spend more time than you're going to make money in some cases. So just make sure you have your ducks in a row from the business side of things. If you're going to do it, you need to make sure that it is properly integrated into your business and sales cycle. Okay? Make sure every time a customer calls up, hey, I want internet service, well, we got a great deal with VoIP too. It sounds stupid, but there are businesses out there that sell VoIP backup services and who knows what else, but they still don't, whenever a customer calls for internet, they still don't even offer all that. They have to, the customer goes, hey, I went to your website, you were just out here and you installed my internet, it's working great, but I went to your website, you said, it says you have a VoIP service, why didn't you guys, offer that to me? I need a phone. And it happens all the time. So you have to plan that out, and you have to have that business development in there, because it doesn't happen a lot, especially with these smaller guys. So if you're going to do it, go for it, because it is and can be a profit center. Just do it. Just don't do it. How can I put it? I'm just going to be blunt. Don't do it half-assed. Do it. And if
go into it with your eyes wide open.
Yeah. Don't just sit there and let's try it out and sit there in the back end and use it a little bit for the next 3 years, and the phone servers sit there and there's like 6 calls on it. The max simultaneous calls on these 4 $3,000 servers was 6. In the past 2 years. You don't want that. You need to develop the product, but you need to make sure that if you're going to do it, do it. Don't just like I said, pilly-patty around and dilly-dally around and not actually get anywhere.
Yeah. And like you said, and like what Stephen was saying was, hey, in those types of situations, if you're wanting to test it out and see, hey, let's see where we can go with this before we, like you said, invest so much money and so much time and so much effort. Let's go with a co-branded solution. Let's do something to where someone else is doing a lot of the work, and we're still making a profit off that, but we're not having to do hardly any work. That's just all to your point, Dennis. Those are really great points, because if you don't do it right, you can actually really cost yourself some business and some time that you just can't get back.
Yeah, I'm gonna sell a 12 extension phone system to a customer. They're gonna pay for all the hardware, and I'm gonna get $15 a month for each phone. Or plus minutes or something. But the first time that they have any problem, they come to me, and I spent 3 hours with them trying to build their phone queue because they need a certain extension or special code dialed, and then they want their cell phones integrated with it. And now, again, you've spent 3 hours. Somebody's paying for those hours. And maybe it's not you, but maybe you're paying your technician to do that. But the customer's not. So all of a sudden, every dollar for the next 6 months that you have done has been ate up in sales and support just to get them going. You have a 6-month ROI, and hopefully they won't do it, but I guarantee you they're going to change it. If it is an inevitable, they will sit there and go, hey, we want to change. We like this, but now we need to change it. Or I really like the ones that, well, I know we could log in and change our system and put it into into holiday mode for Thanksgiving, but can you do that for us? Because we don't want to. And then next thing you know, you have 30 of them that you have to do. And it's just time, and that time is fine if you're charging for it, and
and no customer wants to pay for any of that.
Oh yeah, sure. well that's fine, but you have to make sure that you've built in enough profitability on a monthly basis. Like I said, I found in our area, we have found $35 an extension for pretty much unlimited calling with the phones is been a really good seller for us. And it may seem like a lot to some people. Evan, I don't know. I mean, I think you went, holy cow, how the hell do you get that?
It depends.
But
Certain areas. Yeah.
Right. It also depends on your customer base. If they're really highly educated, if these are all law offices and all that kind of stuff, that's a whole nother ballgame. You know, whenever you're in little manufacturing facilities like this stuff, that's actually another really good thing. I know we're running on over time here, but if you're installing equipment, look at where you're installing this equipment, especially if you are going to have some type of support contract in which you have to replace the equipment. So the example is if I'm installing switches and they go, well, we don't want to have to worry about these switches. Okay, well, where are they going? Well, they're going out in our warehouse. And you go out there and this place is nasty. You ever went to like a power sports shop, you know, one of these, you know, four-wheeler ATV places? Go find something like a countertop or like the top of the rails on their display walls and run your finger across there. All that exhaust fumes and all that crap from the back, they're just nasty places. It is what it is. So if you're going to have to if you're going to put your phones in there, you know it's going to be worse. Just make sure you plan for that. That's all.
Yeah. Sure. For sure. Well, hey, I did want to throw this out because I know you said you guys are definitely running short on time. I just wanted to throw out that for all your listeners, we really appreciate just the ability to come on here and talk with you guys. Was really, really neat. So really glad I got that. Got to definitely meet and talk with Steven a while back. But as far as your listeners, for any of them that are wanting to get into this space, that want to call us, if they do want to get into to actually having an actual server and they've looked at it and said, hey, you know, we're ready to actually launch and be a carrier. We really want to start off. Let's try out PBX real time. We actually have a thing right now where if you just call in, you know, over the next 2 weeks, the next 14 days, so just before Christmas, just before the end of the fiscal year for some companies, and just say, you know, hey, I was listening to the show with Steven and Dennis. You know, I'd really like to get a special, any activation, any cost as far as activation is concerned. We definitely want to waive for all of your listeners. Just have them ask for me. My name is Evan. And I'd definitely be more than happy to definitely hook them up and get them that discount for sure.
Well, how do we get a hold of you, Evan?
Yeah, so to get a hold of us, probably the best way, call our toll-free number. It's 888-369-8647. Or you can send us an email, just sales@1, that's the numeral 1, -VoIP.com. So that's sales@1VoIP.com. And again, just ask for me, and I'd be more than happy to help you out.
Well, thank you, Evan, for being on the show. It was a real eye-opener for me. Dennis, you got anything else? Were there any questions on the chat?
No, we got all the questions. I'm sorry, there was no questions on the chat. I checked that. Keep in mind, we have lots of people that come in and watch the show after the fact. You know, getting everybody together at one time is kind of hard sometimes. The only thing I got to remind everybody about, WISP America, registration is open. Go get your rooms right away because it is a much smaller venue, obviously, than WISPapalooza, so make sure you go do that. Next week, I believe, Steven, am I right? Next week we have Ivan from Freeside.
Yes, sir.
Yep. So next week, same time, same place, everything like that. So we do have that on the schedule. Of course, you can always go to ispradio.com and see our upcoming schedules. Anything that's on there is actually confirmed. Everything else, which is a lot, according to Steven, anyway, he tells me, is still on the back burner, hasn't been confirmed yet, but there's a lot of stuff we're going on. But obviously, we got the holidays coming up, so we want to make sure everybody has a good holiday and we're not scrambling for that. But with that said, I think we're good, Steven, unless there's anything from you.
That's it. Let's just wrap it up. And thanks again, Evan. We appreciate you being on the show.
Hey, no problem at all. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for listening to ISP Radio. We hope you've gained new insights and additional wisdom in our industry as well as your business. Please remember to visit our show sponsors via the links on ispradio.com. If you're interested in becoming a show sponsor, contact us at sales@ispradio.com. Now go out there and push those packets as fast as you can. Good luck and Godspeed.